Collaben Water actually has in statute a role around water literacy and education. What do you think that in making recommendations again to the board, what do you think the panel should be thinking about around water literacy in the community and education, whether it's for schools or more broadly? Do you think that's something that's important?
Yeah, I think it is. Not everyone will always understand any description of something. Their comprehension is always challenged, and that's just a normal thing for us as individuals and even community. But to share the responsibility around the knowledge and those that mightn't comprehend as good as another, that's important, I think, and the responsibility of boards and the leadership to ensure. There'll be people within our community that might think things that we do are potentially wrong or not needed, and I would largely always think that's on their absence of comprehension of the quantum of the problem, and that's a challenge for all leadership. And this panel, I would think, would be faced with a similar dilemma, that there'll be a problem, there'll be a solution, and then there's action that's needed, and the collective support around that. As beautiful as it is that water falls out of the sky and we don't immediately have control over that, culturally we see that as a gift. So if country is now the hands that are held out to catch that water, what do we do to country to ensure that it has the best opportunity to provide for us? So it's an idea now of a bit of philosophy, almost spirituality, the spirit of water, what it has, and then we respect it for the opportunity it gives to us to be nurtured, to be sustained. And for people downstream, in a sense, from what we do here at Collaben, to ensure that what we pass on is the best that we can pass on in terms of creeks and streams and water use.
Yeah, look, fantastic, Rodney. And look, there are also some, there's also, I think an opportunity here with the panel to give some perspectives around what the journey has been like for Aboriginal people in Victoria, in Australia. We certainly recognise that there's been dispossession of land, dispossession of water, there's been massacres, there's been enormous dislocation and disconnection from culture. There's an opportunity here for you to give some perspectives on that for the panel to improve understanding as well. Is there anything that you would share with the panel around some of those impacts on Aboriginal people? And obviously there's there's a long way we've got to go in Victoria and Australia to really genuinely reconcile.
Yeah, thanks, Damian. Some of the words that you use to describe the treatment of my people are truth to me and reflective of probably a former traumatic period. What is amazing out of that, and part why I'm here today, is the survival and the resilience of my ancestors against adversity. So I feel proud in that, and then I feel honoured to try and communicate who and what they were and what we are today. So with what you described and how I responded about how those words are used, I think what's not acceptable going forward is alienating of people that have an opportunity to make a positive contribution, and I think that's challenging sometimes for people to understand what is cultural knowledge. Even for my own people, it's been a challenge to see where our knowledge might be useful to intersect with modern community, things that we do today. Fortunately, the work we've done with Collaben, we're seeing where that intersects, and so that might be how we've contributed to your environmental statement. And it's subtle, but it's really powerful in that, how we might collaborate with you on management around reservoirs. So now that's about gardening the environment introducing Jandek We as fire as now just a management tool for vegetation, to actually within your asset capital management, for us to bring some cultural designs to recreational areas that can be unique and blend like cultural artefacts into design. So that's really powerful, and I think there's more that we can keep doing that, because that's about a relationship and it's about respect.
There's something that we're all coming to grips with. We're all coming to grips with learning more about the impacts that since of the arrival of Europeans in Australia, we know that Aboriginal people never ceded ownership of these lands. We know that there's been enormous impacts. We know that then all these European-based sort of structures come in over the top and create all these things that exclude Aboriginal people from decision making, and have actually contributed to so many of us having so much unconscious bias we barely even are able to scratch the surface on breaking some of that down. Just more generally, is there anything that you would offer the panel as to how we can be more alive to those unconscious biases that we all hold, and to understand how Aboriginal people have been excluded? Because it's not always obvious until an Aboriginal person explains it to you.
Yeah, we all have unconscious biases. The art or the craft in collective decision making is, when do I become aware of that, and then how do I deal with it? Because it's inappropriate in collective decision making. We've got wants and desires and views, and that's just normal. We're human. But what we do when we come together, and I think for this panel, is that we've got knowledge. So how do you impart that knowledge through conversations without being biased, and then potentially now you're knowingly biased about, I've got an immediate need. The panel, I would think, would be charged and challenged with creating this collective decision around what they do. And with most governance structures, and I see them very much as being that, is the skill around what a chair would do on not imposing their view on the group, but bringing everyone's minds together for that collective thought. And when that works, it's brilliance.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Look, Rodney, thanks again for the time that you've given us today. And as we said, we all keep learning, and it's only through your generosity that we can do so, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.